everyone, it's time now for the Captain's Log. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jason. And I am Raven.
Oh no, Raven's back.
Yes.
Raven, did you just pop back in so you can find out about news?
Yes, I love news.
You just like news? You want to be informed?
Yes.
You're a big fan of being informed.
News. I love the news.
Okay, so do you like movies more than you like music? Because we found out earlier that you just don't like music at all.
I only like pop.
That's right, you only like pop.
Because I'm bad. That's why I like pop.
Because you're... Anyway, so Jason and I are going to run down a few news items today. The first thing, Jason, is the Star Trek Season 2, or excuse me, the Star Trek Discovery Season 2 trailer, which you saw with me, and surprisingly looks like possibly a thing that we can bring our kids back to and might sort of go back around to being a somewhat family thing again. Discovery got to the point very early where it was pretty clear that it was meant only for adults and that you couldn't necessarily have your kids around for. There was an F-bomb, there was a great deal of cannibalism. I'm not saying that you can't have dark themes in your family show, but it seemed like it was trying to compensate really, really hard for the fact that Star Trek is thought of as a really wholesome property, and it was trying to appeal to people who like really hard-edged, dark, dystopian science fiction and kind of forgetting everybody else. And with this new season, the way they're advertising it anyway, there's massive course correction, massive attempts at damage control, and it could go way too far in the other direction. But I gotta say, Jason, I didn't think there was much of anything that they could show me that would make me want to watch more of that show. I mean, to be honest with you, I was really on the fence about whether I was even gonna keep going with it. If I heard good things about Season 2, maybe I would come back to it, but like, I reviewed all of Season 1 as it was coming out. I really, really disliked it, and it got to where it was no fun to talk about. And I just couldn't take it seriously. It felt like really poorly written fan fiction. I know there are people who like that show, and no disrespect to anybody. This is just how I felt about it. I found it really difficult to take seriously, and I felt like my intelligence was being insulted a lot. I felt like it was really pandery, and it just wasn't good storytelling. Whether it was good Star Trek or not, certainly, I don't think was good storytelling. And then you get the Season 2 trailer, and it looks like fun, or at least they want us to think it's fun.
Yeah.
Really well cut together trailer. I was actually quite impressed with it. Pike, yeah, and he looks great. I mean, I have to check it out just for that guy playing Pike. It looks like it's gonna be a little lighter. They're gonna bring some color back to it. They're trying to make it look like Star Trek. They're doubling down hard on the Abrams look and the Abrams, and when I say Abrams, Jason, I mean the 2009 Star Trek movie and moving forward. And the tone of that and the kind of action-driven nature of that. But I will take that over what we had last year, and certainly. Pike shows up, he's got the classic gold uniform look, and then we see a scene later with him wearing our costumes, and it looks like they're going to get him out of that pretty quickly. I was kind of hoping they would just sort of ignore some of the look from last year and just have more color, prime-colored Star Trek costumes, but whatever. Although, I guess that gets a little strange. Not that any of this feels like it really fits with canon anyway yet, but I guess it's a little strange given that in The Cage we had more drab costumes, and that is, technically canon, and then after that we get to the kind of, the more prime color stuff. But whatever, because Abrams' Star Trek also has the prime color uniforms, so not like it matters or anything, but I was just hoping maybe that would be the look of the show now moving forward, but we'll see if we start to go maybe a little bit more in that direction. Jason, the actress whose name is escaping me all of a sudden, who played Mystique in the first run X-Men movies, is going to be #1. And I'm really excited about that. I was hoping we would get a look at her in the trailer, and I didn't notice her. I don't think she's there anywhere. But what cool casting. I'm really excited about that. It seems like they might be getting their ducks in a row. There is a chance that it at least gets more watchable and more fun.
Yep.
But I'm hoping it becomes a thing that I can show you, that you can watch with me.
Yeah.
I really like it if Star Trek can be a family event again.
It would be really good if I can actually watch the show.
Did it seem pretty clear to you, Jason, like it did me, that they took notes from the Orville? Like, they looked at that show, right? They're aware of the Orville. They know that that's more popular. They're hearing people, I say more popular. I don't know if technically it's doing better numbers-wise, because there's no way to know with CBS All Access, but there's been a lot of criticism that Orville is real Star Trek and Discovery is not really Star Trek, and it seems like they're listening to that some, especially with that kind of joke stinger ending with the alien that that sneezes and sneezes all over somebody's face and all of that. Like, they're trying to get lighter, they're trying to bring some levity into it. Trying to make it look like some of these characters actually like each other and want to serve on this ship together. The like 7 lights in the galaxy that we have to go figure out what they are thing seems like kind of a cookie cutter video game plot, and I hope isn't the entire season, although depending on what they're doing with it, it could be really intriguing. But that feels like kind of an Enterprise plot. It feels like a sphere builder sort of situation, and the going after Spock thing could be really muddled and awful. I guess we'll see. I'm curious to see if eventually they cast him or if they keep him in the background entirely. Just as kind of a plot device, kind of a MacGuffin thing. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, color me intrigued. This is what it should have looked like in the first place. I mean, tonally. I mean, the way they're selling it. This feels like the show I was kind of expecting to some degree in the first place. And I really wonder how much they're going to kind of ignore season 1. I mean, obviously, story-wise and stuff, they don't seem to be. They're still going forward with the Burnham backstory, with being raised with Spock and all of that. I'm not saying they're doing full-blown retconning, but I'm wondering, because it seems like they're trying so hard to bring in a new audience, how much you're even going to need season 1 to watch the show, and moving forward, if it gets popular with people who didn't care for it in the first place, if we might all just kind of look back on season 1 as a mulligan, or at least people who didn't like it. I'm really curious to see where this goes moving forward, but we could suddenly be in good shape.
Yeah.
I'm surprisingly interested. And also, this was a thought that I forget who mentioned. I think it was Eric when I showed it to him, who said it looks like, and this won't mean anything to you, Jason, but he said it looks like a UPN trailer with that song and the way it's cut, that 90s song. I want to get away. I want to fly away. I thought that was a great song pick. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, it's a UPN trailer. It's really kind of fun to see that again. So yeah, I'm very intrigued. The other thing I wanted to talk about with Star Trek is the Picard show, which I just keep referring to as the Picard show. And Eric was like, they should just call it that. It should be called the Picard show. But
what is it actually called?
We don't know yet.
Oh.
That's why I've been referring to it as the Picard show. But Patrick Stewart at the Las Vegas convention confirmed and announced during a panel that he's definitely coming back and that show is happening. We had gotten not rumors, but it had been stated that they were talking to him and seeing if he would do it, and he says, and it's a really heartfelt speech he gives about it. He says that, so go check that out. It's great. He says,
can I see it?
Yeah, sure. He says that he at first really didn't think he was going to want to do it, that chapter in his life had passed, and got excited about what they wanted to do with it, but also just talking to fans and realizing how much it would mean to everybody if he came back and did it again. And I'm a little bit I'm a little iffy on we don't have a lot of details yet, but I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess, is how I would put it, with some of what he said about it. So it's going to be 20 years after Nemesis. which would put it, if it's squarely 20 years after Nemesis, that puts it right on the edge of the 25th century, which is pretty cool. I mean, I've been wanting to see us move forward. I have no idea, obviously, aesthetically what the show is going to look like, and if we're going to ignore the look from Voyager and Nemesis and kind of pretend like it's a whole other thing, but or kind of pretend like it's still Prime, but make it look like a whole other thing, which is kind of what we're doing with Discovery. And by the way, I meant to say when we were talking about Discovery, Kurtzman keeps saying that Season 2 is going to explain all the weird continuity changes, and where they keep saying that it's Prime, but it doesn't feel like it possibly can be. He says that there's a reason for it, and so we'll see if we can hold him to that, and if it ultimately ends up making sense, or if it's just bounds and bounds of creative license. But anyway, but with this Picard thing, I'm really curious to see if they kind of double down on nostalgia and make it look a lot like TNG or the TNG movies, or if they extrapolate even from the future that we've been creating for Discovery, moving forward from that. I mean, I guess we'll find out what they do with it. But the thing that has me a little bit uncertain and apprehensive is he says Picard is going to be very different because of how much his experiences have changed him, which I would think can only mean he's going to be a lot darker and a lot more cynical. And maybe not, but that's sure what it sounds like the way he's talking about it. And but he also talks about it like, you know, kind of a love letter to fans and stuff. So I mean, obviously he seems excited about doing it, and he's, you know, wanting to get people on board. So he's not going to come right out and say, yeah, if you love Picard, you won't like the show. Obviously, he's not going to say that. I think Leonard Nimoy with Star Trek 09 acted like it was a way smarter film than it ended up ultimately being. So I take all this with a grain of salt. But I think we can take him at his word when he says Picard's going to be quite different. And it's difficult to guess at it, of, you know, what exactly it's going to be. I wonder if they don't do another Borg show. I wonder if they don't look at the thing that was most popular with TNG and Picard and bring the Borg back after Voyager and say, like, maybe he was assimilated a second time and just got out of it, or maybe even at the beginning of the show he's Locutus and they have to get him back. We've done that a lot in extra media, in books and comics and things, and I would not put that past Kurtzman and those guys. I'm not even saying necessarily it would be a horrible thing, but what exactly would have happened in those 20 years that changes Picard that much? Surely it's not just dealing with Shinzon, you know, surely, and I mean, with Star Trek, we've been doing this a lot, where we kind of make sequels to things nobody liked, or, you know, go back to prequel material that people tend to not care for, so I guess I wouldn't put that past them either. But when he says, you know, he's been changed a lot by his experiences, surely it's something that's happened in the last 20 years. I also wonder, of course, if Romulus exploded. I wonder if we're going to take that into canon, or if we're going to have this kind of alternate Prime where we didn't blow up Romulus. But of course I'm excited to see Patrick Stewart come back, and I'm really glad that that turned out to actually be true. I'm just a little bit unsure and apprehensive about I have been changed so much by my experiences.
Well, and he's like 80.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. In this one, will he be in a wheelchair?
That's hilarious. No, I don't think so. And I mean, Patrick Stewart doesn't age a lot. You can't tell how old he is looking at him. He's still, you know, is in great shape, and I think he can hold a show. There is a lot of talk about, you know, whether or not he's, I mean, hopefully he's not straight up action movie Picard, like he was in the movies. But there's a lot of talk about, you know, is he going to be in a wheelchair? Is he going to be at a desk, or is he actually going to be in space? He says he's not captain anymore. He basically came right out and said he's not Captain Picard. He's somewhere else, which you can take, which I take to either mean probably Admiralty or out of Starfleet completely for some reason. Maybe he's an archaeologist again. Yeah. Maybe he left Starfleet and he's just going off doing archaeology, or got assimilated by the Borg.
Yeah.
I think any of those things is possible. Maybe the archaeology thing a little bit less less so, but I don't know. That would be really funny. But yeah, so I'm excited about him coming back. I just remain leery of Kurtzman being in charge of you know, being kind of the keeper of Star Trek right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, really interesting time to be a Star Trek fan right now. We were also told at a convention that by Kurtzman that the Klingons are getting a brand new look this season, and he's trying to explain away why the different houses, why that the houses that we saw in first season look different because they're from different planets, and not all Klingons are from Kronos, and he's got this whole thing about they're being bald, which tells me that the new Klingons will probably have hair again and will probably look a lot more familiar, that it's a religious thing, and that they shave their heads because of Kahless putting his hair in the Lake of Lurser to make the batleth, which I think sounds absolutely ridiculous because it was a lock of hair, not like all of his hair, and it sounds like he's just backtracking and trying to make up things so that he doesn't have to apologize for things people didn't like in first season Discovery, but also damage control and move forward from that. He's trying to make it sound like it was always the plan all the time. And yeah, if you just hung with us, you'd realize that not all Klingons look like this. But they really did play it like that's just what Klingons are like in the first season, not that it's just this weird other sect of Klingons, especially because it's the 6 great houses. He's like, oh well, no, there's other houses, and I'm like, all right, like it feels really reactionary and backtracking, and might ultimately be a good thing that they're doing in changing that look, because of course a lot of people don't care for it, and we feel like it's not really Klingons. And I don't mean to be prudish about it, it's just, it feels disingenuous to try to have your cake and eat it too with this, where it's really obvious, like really thinly veiled, that they're changing stuff because people didn't like it, but they're also pretending like it was always the plan, and like first season is still wonderful. And again, folks that like that season, you know, with all due respect, like that's great. I don't care for it, and I'm not in the minority, I don't think. And if I was in the minority, they wouldn't feel the need to make such giant course corrections. And so I don't know. I would have a lot more respect for it if he would just come out and say, yeah, we had some missteps. We're gonna take more creative license and retcon some things and make the show more like Star Trek and more like what fans want. And of course, I don't want them to just like force things where they're giving us what they think what we think we want. It's just, I think the problems with Discovery start from that place already, of trying to give people what you think they want and then kind of failing at that. And it's very much kind of that Warner Brothers thing. What I much prefer, of course, is make what you want to make and then hope that there are enough people there that like what you're making to support it, but it never felt like they really had a complete vision, really. So it already starts from that place. So hopefully this is a new vision that there are more people there for, and that they actually tell some decent stories and take it in more of a character and idea-driven place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's my soapboxing about Discovery.
If Klingons get new look, I want it to be still like TNG and DS9.
I mean, being that period, it would be really interesting if they suddenly went straight up TOS, but they won't do that. I'm sure they'll have 4 heads. And I'm not even saying that they need to. But wouldn't it be crazy if suddenly they just look like TOS Klingons? I think it's more likely that they go to a like kind of motion picture look with them.
Mm-hmm.
They say it's yet another brand new look that's nothing like we've had before. But
okay.
I doubt that completely. Like I think it'll be a new look that looks more like Klingons, like more like Klingons we've had before.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
I don't know.
We'll see if they have piercings in the forehead ridges again.
Yeah, they should totally do that.
I don't think they should do that. But, okay, other things I wanted to mention. Jason, in September, For one night, the 1986 Transformers animated movie is going to be in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to try to go see that. That was the last rewind I did, surprisingly. The science fiction rewind I did on that movie. And it'll be cool to finally get to see that in all of its cinematic glory on the big screen. That's a wonderful looking movie. It's going to be really cool to get to see like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that for people who might not know about it. There's a new Supergirl movie in development. We don't know a whole lot about that yet, but that's happening. So we'll see, what that ends up being like, and if it actually gets made, because Warner's is constantly announcing things all the time. But
it doesn't even happen.
Or that may or may not ultimately end up happening. But and we'll see if it ends up having anything to do at all with the original setup for Supergirl that we had in Man of Steel. Mm-hmm. Because there's a pod in the ship that's empty that's supposed to be Supergirl. So we'll see if it turns out that she's actually been on Earth this whole time, or what exactly is going on with that. Mm-hmm. So oddly, and I talked about this on the Captain Logan show last week, I completely called this wrong. Apparently Hasbro is indeed, when they make a new Power Rangers movie, making a sequel to the 2017 movie. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that?
I don't know. Like, are they doing that same cast?
That's what it sounds like. I mean, we don't know that for sure yet. They called it a follow-up. And follow-up tends to mean sequel to that movie. Like, it would be really strange if they used that terminology and they're straight-up rebooting. I don't want to jump the gun, and especially because this is really not what I thought they would do. I figured Hasbro would go a completely different direction with it. The assumption a lot of fans are making, and I tend to agree with this, is that it's going to have a completely different aesthetic. And I think you have to do that to try to sell it to more people, because and to appeal to nostalgia, because that first movie didn't really do well enough to warrant a sequel. And the only way I think you can recoup that and make it more successful is if it looks more like that show did.
Yeah.
And they also just recently at San Diego Comic-Con auctioned off a bunch of the costumes and props, and then announced a sequel. Really strange. Really odd. But I like that cast a lot. Mm-hmm. So if they can find a way to have their cake and eat it too on this, I'm all for it. If you can keep that cast, but make it look more like a cinematic version of what that show looked like with that iconography, I would be a kid in a candy store. I mean, like, I'm really excited about that if that's what they do with it. And I'm sure they'll try to come up with some kind of in-universe reason that everything looks different, or maybe they won't. Maybe I mean, this is a thing we used to do with sequels a lot, where you just come back and everything looks different. And Batman Returns into Batman Forever, technically the same continuity. We come back, everything looks different. We just don't even talk about it. I would not mind if that's what they did with this.
And I messaged this in the in capital letters in the Captain Logan show. Mm-hmm. Put Zordon in a tube.
You don't like him in the wall?
Yeah.
I don't mind the reinterpretations they did. I wish that we knew more about the mythology and that it didn't feel so vague and generic. And hopefully we start, actually learning things about the mythology and talking about Eltar and, where things actually come from and stuff.
Yeah.
I will be really surprised if it's not Zed, and I will be really surprised if it's not Green Ranger. And I also think that there's every likelihood, if they do bring that cast back, that they go ahead and cast a female Tommy. Because that's what the cast wanted. There was a lot of talk about that after the movie came out, and I don't immediately have any problem with that. Also, because Rita was the Green Ranger, and that's another reason to think that they might go with the female Green Ranger.
Yeah.
But I will be really surprised if that movie is not simultaneously Green Ranger Saga and Zed.
Yeah. But you will be really sad if Zed wasn't in there.
Unless they make him look stupid. If they have a really bad look for Zed, I don't want Zed. Yeah. And I was I was leery of Zed in that aesthetic, where they would probably try to completely reinvent him from the ground up. That is one of those designs. I mean, what I love about Zed is the design. That's one of those designs that there's no reason to monkey with much. So if they're trying to be a little bit more faithful to the look of it while still having more character depth like that movie did, we'll probably get something closer to TV Lord Zed.
Yeah.
You know, done on a big budget.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
But we hope
that's exciting if it happens.
Yeah. But we hope that that happens.
Yep. And also, at least a mention of Zed was in the initial script and supposed to be in that movie. And so if they continue moving forward with the mythology they had at all, I'll be really surprised if Zed's not there. Last thing I wanted to mention was Sonic movie details. We learned some things yesterday. A few days ago, we got Sonic's voice casting. Ben Schwartz, who is not somebody I'm familiar with, but he is in Parks and Rec, and a lot of people like him, so we'll see what he's like. I have no comment on that because I'm not familiar with that actor. Still really excited about Jim Carrey as Robotnik, and I keep looking at Sonic comics and seeing how Robotnik will like change his facial expression dramatically between panels, and it looks like a thing you want a rubber face guy to be able to do. The more I'm looking at him, the more I'm like, I'm doubling down on, no, Jim Carrey is the casting choice for this. And I'm really excited about that. James Marsden is going to be the main human character in it, which is hilarious, and I'm really excited about. James Marsden was Cyclops in the X-Men movies. And I'm kind of stoked about that.
Wait, wasn't that a live action?
Yeah.
Oh.
What is your point?
I forgot that was...
That what was live action? The Sonic movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sonic movie's live action, yeah. Well, I showed you a still yesterday of that sign with Green Hill.
Oh, yeah.
It's live action, yeah. And Jim Carrey's going to be playing a live action Robotnik.
Oh.
So you're going to have animated Sonic, but all the remotely human characters are going to be live action.
Okay.
Jim Carrey is apparently playing a Robotnik that will be called Robotnik. He's Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik.
At least he's Eggman instead of Dr. Ivo Eggman.
I'm going to be excited if we got both of those things in there. The plot synopsis we were given is this. A small town joins a sheriff named Tom Wachowski, or Wachowski, so like the Wachowski brothers or sisters now, on an epic journey to San Francisco in their efforts to save Sonic. That sheriff is James Marsden. An anthropomorphic Hedgehog, and help him recover his rings from the evil Dr. Eggman and being captured by the government. So, yeah, it's a kind of real-worldy sounding setting with these heightened elements, and we'll see if that, ends up working. And just how heightened this world ends up looking. But yeah, we got a sign in a picture on Twitter of Green Hill, which I guess is maybe the location of where the sheriff comes from. So it'll be fun if we get a lot of references to zones like that and stuff.
Knuckles
we haven't been told yet. I don't know. I'll be really surprised if they don't at least do Tails.
Yeah.
But so far, nothing I'm hearing to make me really alarmed and go, oh god, this is going to be horrible. And the thing that, like I said, that's most jazzing me about it is the idea of Jim Carrey's Robotnik. So far, I'm kind of excited about it.
How are they going to do the drawing? How are they going to do the live action and then do the whole cartoon Sonic thing?
Well, it's going to be a 3D Hedgehog. I mean, we do this all the time. Where you're kind of like the Scooby-Doo model, where you have the live action characters with the one animated element.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's going to do it for the Captain's Log today. Thanks a bunch for watching. We sure appreciate it. And Jason and I are going to move on now to the last segment of the Minibus, which is the letters pages. We're going to answer some of your questions. And stick with us, won't you, on the playlist.
Yeah,
and if
let's do it.
Just watching this video, thanks a bunch for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jason.
See you, folks.